feel like you're just not really clicking with people, like you're missing something, like some secret ingredient to really connect.
Well, you're definitely not alone.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's still so popular.
I know. It's almost a century old. And
It's like he figured out how we humans work, you know?
yeah, exactly. And that's why we're diving into it today. Those excerpts you sent over, we're going to unpack all that good stuff.
What's so interesting is this book isn't just some random hit.
Right.
Back in the 30s, University of Chicago and the YMCA, they did this huge study.
Okay.
2 years they spent on it. A fortune, too. They wanted to know, like, what adults really wanted to learn.
Ooh, that's got to be good. What'd they find out?
Besides just, like, health stuff, people were most interested in, get this, each other.
Really?
Yeah. Understanding people, building relationships, figuring out how to, like, win others over.
I love that.
It's exactly what Carnegie talks about so well.
So basically, he was like way ahead of his time, like a social media guru before social media.
Totally. He was all about connection before it was, a buzzword.
Wow, exactly.
And one of the biggest things he says right away, don't criticize, don't condemn, and don't complain.
Is that even possible?
Well, he actually uses this wild example to show us.
Okay.
Two Gun Crowley, the gangster.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Even facing execution, this guy wouldn't admit any fault. It's crazy to think that even when things are that serious, we still try to shift to blame.
Oh, totally. I mean, maybe not to that extreme.
Right.
But who hasn't tried to justify themselves instead of owning up?
It's human nature. And Carnegie says it's not just criminals. Al Capone, the Teapot Dome scandal, everyone tries to rationalize their actions.
Okay, so we all mess up, and we hate admitting it. So what's the solution? Carnegie wouldn't just leave us hanging, would he?
Nope. He gives us a great example. John Wanamaker, super successful businessman, he made a habit of looking at his own WN flaws, not blaming others. He realized criticizing was like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Makes sense.
It just makes things worse.
So it's about turning inward instead of pointing fingers.
Yeah.
I get it. But how do we actually connect with people then?
Carnegie says the key is genuine interest in others. Not just flattery, but really wanting to understand them.
He makes it sound so easy.
Right?
I bet it's more than just, how's your day, though, right?
Oh, for sure. He actually talks about how he got to interview those famous authors back in the day.
The big names, yeah.
Yeah. Busy people. But he got their attention not by bragging about himself, but by showing he admired their work and really wanted to learn.
So it's about being curious, not trying to impress. I like it.
Exactly. It's focusing on them, not me. There's this great story about a bank employee.
Oh, yeah. What'd they do?
She remembered a little detail about the customer's mom from before.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't some big thing, but it showed she cared and was listening.
That's powerful. Small gestures can really make a difference.
They really can.
It reminds me of Carnegie's story about the botanist. Wasn't he kind of shy?
He was, but he got known for being such a good conversationalist, all because he encouraged the botanist to talk about plants, his passion.
Interesting. So it's about drawing people out, not dominating the conversation.
Yeah. Carnegie wasn't trying to be witty. He was actively listening to what the other person loved talking about, which reminds me of this quote by Freud that says, being listened to feels so good, it might be almost as important as being loved.
Wow. Being a good listener is like love.
Okay, I'm sold. Listening is going on my to-do list. But what about making people feel important? Like, is that where remembering names comes in?
You got it. That's a big part of it. Carnegie has had this guy, Jim Farley, who could remember like 50,000 names.
50,000? That's like a whole town.
I know, right? And it wasn't some party trick for him. It was like his superpower.
Wow.
Some say it even helped get FDR elected because Farley made everyone feel seen and important, built this huge loyal network. Okay, so remembering names isn't just polite. It's like politically strategic.
You could say that. It's showing people they matter. And Carnegie tells this great story about FDR.
I love a good presidential story. What'd he do?
He met this shy mechanic, right. But instead of rushing, he made the guy feel comfortable, like he was important.
That's cool.
It's not about memorizing thousands of names. It's about trying to remember, even in small moments, and treating everyone with respect, no matter who they are.
I like that. A challenge for sure.
Definitely.
So before we get to those 6 principles for making people like you, I know, those 6 principles, they sound like the secret formula.
Well, let's not spoil all the fun just yet.
Okay.
But they do build on what we've been talking about, being genuinely interested, listening well, that kind of stuff.
All right, I can wait. But at least a little hint. What's the first one?
The first one is super important. Become genuinely interested in others. Remember that bank employee? The one who remembered about the mom.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Okay, I get it. But how do you go beyond just small talk? How do you really get to know what makes someone tick?
It's all about being present, asking good questions, not just how are ya, but stuff that gets them talking about their passions, dreams, their stories.
I like that. Makes every conversation a chance to learn something new.
Right. And that leads right into the second principle.
Okay.
Smile.
Wait, seriously. Just smile.
I know it sounds simple, but a real smile, it's powerful.
Don't tell me it's like science or something about endorphins and stuff.
Well, there's some cool research behind it.
Yeah, bet.
But think about it. A smile, it breaks the ice. People relax. You seem friendly, approachable.
Okay, yeah. Changes the whole vibe. But what if you're having a bad day? Do you have to fake it?
Nope, that's where the genuine part comes in. A fake smile, people can tell. It's about finding those real moments of connection. And sometimes just trying to smile, it helps you feel better too.
Interesting. Okay, so we got genuine interest, a warm smile. What's next on the list?
This one's a classic. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language.
Just the name game. I am so bad at that. We'll have a great talk and then poof, I can't remember their name to save my life.
You're not the only one. But think about the flip side. When someone remembers your name, it feels good, right? Like they see you.
That's true.
Yeah.
I remember this one time at a conference, I met this speaker just briefly months before.
Yeah.
And they remembered my name. It made my whole day.
See, it's a small thing, but it shows you care, you're paying attention.
Okay, got to work on that. So, genuine interest, warm smile, remember names. I'm feeling like a Carnegie pro already. What are the last three?
The next one goes back to what we were saying before. Be a good listener and encourage others to talk about themselves. Remember that Freud quote about being listened to? This is how you do it.
So it's not just hearing the words, it's like really listening, getting involved, making them feel important.
Exactly. And that takes us to number 5. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. You don't have to be an expert in everything, but find common ground, ask questions, show them you care about what they care about.
It's like that saying, you make more friends being interested than trying to be interesting.
Haha, exactly. And last but not least, number 6. It kind of wraps it all up. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. Not just remembering names, but seeing their good qualities, appreciating them, treating them with kindness.
You know, what I love about all these principles is that it's not about tricking people or being fake.
Right.
It's about being real, actually caring.
That's what's so great about Carnegie's work. He's not saying change who you are. He's saying develop that empathy, that connection.
Yeah, and those principles, they never go out of style because deep down we all want to feel valued and appreciated. It's human nature.
Absolutely.
Okay, feeling very inspired to put these into practice. But let's be honest, making people like you is just part of it, right?
Yeah.
What about influencing them? Is that where Carnegie's persuasion tips come in?
Bingo. Building rapport is huge, but Carnegie doesn't stop there. He's got a whole section on how to win people over to your way of thinking. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Ooh, I'm all ears. Lay it on me. What's the magic formula?
You might be surprised. He starts off by saying the best way to win an argument is to avoid it.
Wait, what? You're telling me to just back down every time I disagree? That doesn't sound very effective.
It's not about backing down, it's about understanding how people work. Carnegie says arguing rarely changes anyone's mind. Most of the time, it just causes more problems.
Yeah, I've been in enough arguments to know that's probably true.
Right. So how do you get your point across without a big debate? It's about finding common ground, respecting different views, appealing to their emotions and what's in it for them. Carnegie tells this funny story about a dog in the park.
A dog, okay.
Yeah. He learned that bossing the dog around just made it resist. But giving it some freedom, some choice, that's what got it to cooperate.
So like you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Exactly. It's not manipulation. It's about realizing people are more open to your ideas when they feel respected and heard.
That makes sense. But let's be real. Sometimes you can't avoid a disagreement. How do you handle those tough conversations without it turning into a fight?
Carnegie's got some good strategies for that. Admitting when you're wrong, starting with what you agree on, focusing on solutions instead of blaming.
Okay, so it's about understanding, not just winning.
Exactly. And that brings us to one of his most important principles. It's about humility and praise. Be generous with praise and careful with criticism.
Oof, that's a tough one for me. I'm quick to point out what's wrong, but not always so good at noticing the good stuff.
Happens to the best of us. But Carnegie says praise is like sunshine. It helps people grow and bloom.
Mm.
But criticism, that's like frost. It can hurt relationships and hold people back.
It's like catch them doing something right.
Yes. And he tells this story about learning to praise his niece instead of criticizing.
Oh, interesting.
He saw a big change in her. She got more confident, more willing to try new things.
So it's not just about being nice. It's about understanding how praise affects people. Like it can change how they act.
For sure. There's this example about some construction workers. Someone praised their work, and they ended up cleaning up the whole site, even though they didn't have to.
Wow. The power of appreciation.
Right. But doesn't all this praise seem fake? Like, how do you know it's real?
That's what I was thinking.
That's where sincerity comes in. People can tell if you're just flattering them. Carnegie says make it specific, make it genuine. Instead of just saying, good job, point out what you actually liked.
So instead of you're a great writer, say, I loved how you structured that argument. It was so clear.
Exactly. Make it personal and from the heart.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here. But sometimes you do have to criticize, right?
Yeah.
How do you do that without making someone feel bad?
Carnegie's got tips for that, too. Sandwich it between praise, focus on what they did, not who they are, and offer solutions, not just complaints.
So it's about helping them improve, not putting them down.
You got it. And it all ties into encouragement. He tells this inspiring story about Marie the dishwasher. She felt invisible, unimportant.
Oh, I remember that story.
But then someone believed in her, and it changed everything.
Tell me more about Marie. I love that story.
She was so used to being ignored, but when someone acknowledged her work, told her they saw her potential, it sparked something inside her. She started taking pride in herself, even went for a promotion.
It's like everyone has this hidden potential just waiting to be seen.
And sometimes all it takes is a little encouragement to make all the difference.
So
I
powerful.
feel like we can awaken those abilities in people just by praising them, supporting them.
I love that.
We all have that power to make a positive impact.
That's a beautiful thought.
Yeah.
And that leads us to Carnegie's last principle, making people glad to do what you want.
This isn't about being sneaky or controlling. It's about understanding how people think and finding solutions that work for everyone.
Okay, I'm listening. How do we do that?
See things from their side, respect what they need and want, and find a way to make it match your goals.
So it's like teamwork, working together.
Right. And there's this story about a contractor who didn't want to lower his price for a project.
What happened?
Instead of pressuring him, the project manager showed him some appreciation, acknowledged his value, and guess what? The contractor agreed to change his price.
So it wasn't about hard bargaining. It was about building a relationship.
Exactly. It goes back to that need for connection we talked about. When people feel valued, they're more willing to cooperate.
Wow, we covered so much. Carnegie's principles are like a roadmap for making relationships stronger, handling those tough conversations with grace.
It really is. And before we go any further, I have a question for you, our listener. Carnegie's book is full of stories about people changing their relationships, achieving success, all by using these principles. If you could pick just one principle to focus on this week, which would it be and why? Take a minute to really think about it. What speaks to you most right now?
It really makes you think, which one would I pick to focus on?
Yeah, so much good stuff in this book. It's not even just about friends or influence. It's like becoming a better you.
I know, right? Like being more thoughtful in all our relationships, work, personal life, everything.
Exactly. More empathy, more understanding, just being more genuine.
It's not about playing games. It's about getting how people really are.
Yeah.
We all want to connect, feel appreciated,
For sure. And when we get that, it opens up so many possibilities, not just for us, but for the people around us too.
Okay, so big picture. What's the takeaway for our listener today? After this deep dive into how to win friends and influence people.
Well, the biggest thing for me is this. Building those strong relationships, it's a skill.
Like anything else, you can learn it and get better with practice.
Exactly. Carnegie's giving us the tools to improve how we communicate, how we connect with people. It's like a guide to having a more fulfilling life.
And it's not about changing who you are. It's about growing that empathy muscle, being more understanding.
Yeah, totally. It's been awesome exploring all this with you today. This book is a classic for a reason.
I know. I'm already feeling inspired to put all this into practice.
And for our listener out there, don't forget about these principles. Come back to them, try them out, see how they can change your relationships.
And a huge thank you to you for joining us on this deep dive into how to win friends and influence people. Hope you're walking away with some great ideas to build those amazing connections in your life.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into something awesome, so stay tuned. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep those light bulb moments coming.
And remember, you have the power to build incredible relationships. Thanks for listening.